Have you ever wondered why some people walk through life with unshakable confidence, while others crumble the moment things get tough? It's not luck, it's not talent, it's values. Strong personal values act like an internal compass, guiding decisions, shaping character, and keeping you steady when everything around you feels chaotic. Stay with me until the end of this video, because what we're about to uncover is more than motivation. It's the foundation of a stronger, more respected, more unbreakable you. 1. Why values matter. Values matter because they influence every choice you make, shaping the structure, direction, and quality of your life in ways that are often invisible yet profoundly powerful. Every decision, whether small and fleeting or enormous and life-altering, is filtered through the internal compass you carry, and that compass is built from your values. When your values are clear, you feel grounded, steady, and capable of navigating the world with confidence. When they are unclear or inconsistent, every path feels foggy, and the simplest decisions can feel overwhelming. Think of values as the foundation of a building. If the foundation is strong and intentionally designed, the structure rises with stability and purpose. If the foundation is weak or neglected, cracks appear, uncertainty spreads, and the entire structure is vulnerable to collapse. Rohn often emphasized that values shape destiny, and this is not poetic exaggeration but a practical truth, because who you become is directly tied to what you believe is important, acceptable, non-negotiable, or sacred. Your habits, behaviors, and reactions are not random. They are the visible expression of your deepest values. When you value honesty, you tell the truth even when it costs you. When you value growth, you seek challenges rather than comfort. When you value kindness, you treat people with respect even when they misunderstand you. When you value responsibility, you stop blaming circumstances and start taking ownership of your life. And when you truly value something, you don't have to remind yourself to act on it. It naturally becomes the default setting of your behavior. Values matter as guides, but they also matter as anchors. Life will always bring storms, loss, disappointment, betrayal, uncertainty, and when the storm arrives, you will reach for whatever you have built your identity upon. If your values are vague, borrowed from others, or based on impulse, then you will be tossed around by circumstances. But if your values are carefully chosen and deeply integrated, you will not only withstand the storm, you will grow stronger because of it. Values also matter because they influence how you treat others and how others trust, respect, and relate to you. A person whose values are inconsistent becomes unpredictable, but a person whose values are stable becomes reliable, and reliability is the root of strong relationships. Whether in families, friendships, or professional environments, values determine your reputation, because while talent may impress people at first, values determine whether they stay. Finally, values matter because they create internal alignment. There is no greater form of suffering than living in conflict with yourself. When your actions contradict your principles, you feel lost, frustrated, and disempowered. But when your behavior matches your beliefs, something powerful happens. You experience inner peace. That peace is not passive. It is the quiet strength of knowing you are living in accordance with what you believe is right, and that, as Rohn taught, is the beginning of a meaningful destiny. 2. Defining what you stand for. Before you can live a values-driven life, you must define what truly matters to you, not what your parents believed, not what society rewards, not what trends promote, but what you, at the deepest level of your being, consider essential, noble, and non-negotiable. This requires introspection, honesty, and courage, because defining your values is not merely a mental exercise, it is a declaration of identity. When you ask yourself what you stand for, you are really asking, what do I believe is worth defending? What is worth sacrificing for? What principles do I refuse to compromise even when pressured, criticized, or misunderstood? Integrity, responsibility, compassion, discipline, resilience, humility, courage, loyalty, excellence. These are not mere words, but pillars that can shape the core of your character if chosen intentionally. The act of writing down your values, as simple as it seems, is a transformative practice. Clarity is power, and when you deliberately define the standards you choose to live by, you stop drifting through life and start directing it. Without clear values, you become vulnerable to external influences. Trends push you, people pull you, circumstances shake you, and the opinions of others become louder than your own inner voice. But when your values are clear, you become grounded, purposeful, and internally aligned. You stop seeking validation because you already know what matters. You stop reacting impulsively because you have pre-decided the principles that guide your choices. Defining what you stand for also helps reveal what you do not stand for: lies, excuses, laziness, cruelty, dishonor, or anything that corrupts your character. This clarity creates boundaries, and boundaries protect your mental, emotional, and moral space. Anyone can claim to have values, but only someone who defines them consciously can live them consistently. When you articulate your values, you shape the identity you wish to embody. You begin to notice which actions reflect your principles and which betray them, which environments support your values and which erode them, which relationships strengthen your character and which weaken it. The process of defining values also invites self-sovereignty. You stop living by inherited beliefs and start living by chosen convictions. You no longer move through life on autopilot, but with awareness and intention. And perhaps the greatest gift of clearly defined values is that they create inner order. They help you prioritize your time, energy, and attention by giving you a filtering system through which opportunities, temptations, decisions, and commitments are evaluated. When you know what you stand for, you know what to walk toward and what to walk away from. You become centered, not easily swayed, not easily confused, not easily manipulated. You become someone who stands firm, not because life is easy, but because your principles are solid. And in a world full of noise, uncertainty, and distraction, a clearly defined set of values becomes the rarest and most powerful form of clarity. 3. Values in hard moments. Anyone can talk about values when life is easy, when emotions are calm, when the stakes are low, and when there is nothing to lose. But the real test of who you are, your character, your integrity, your discipline, emerges during moments of challenge, pressure, and discomfort. Hard moments are the X-ray of the soul. They reveal what is genuine and expose what is merely performative. In adversity, your true values rise to the surface, whether you like it or not. When life turns dark, the question is no longer what you say you believe. The question becomes what you actually live. Do you keep your word when circumstances make it inconvenient? Do you take the high road when the low road would be easier? Do you act with honesty when deception would benefit you? Do you remain disciplined when your emotions beg you to quit? These moments define character more than any speech, promise, or intention. Jim Rohn famously said, "Character is built through adversity," and this truth holds firm across every era of human experience. Hard moments do not just test your values, they refine, strengthen, and clarify them. When you face betrayal, you discover whether you value forgiveness or bitterness. When you face uncertainty, you discover whether you value faith or fear. When you face disappointment, you discover whether you value resilience or defeat. And when no one is watching, you discover whether you value integrity or image. In difficult moments, values become more than philosophical ideas. They become survival tools. They keep your mind stable when emotions try to overwhelm you. They keep your actions honorable when anger tries to steer you toward revenge. They keep your decisions aligned when pressure tempts you to betray your principles. And perhaps most importantly, values anchor your identity so you do not become someone you regret once the storm is over. Adversity also reveals the difference between preferences and principles. A preference is something you follow when convenient. A principle is something you follow even when it costs you. People admire values during peaceful times, but they become their values during painful times. Those who abandon their values in difficulty are guided by comfort. Those who hold to their values in difficulty are guided by character. And character is the source of long-lasting respect, trust, and self-confidence. When you know you can remain loyal to your values under pressure, you develop an unshakable inner strength. You no longer fear challenges because you know you will not collapse morally or mentally when they appear. Values in hard moments are not just about morality. They are about identity, self-respect, and the legacy you leave behind. Anyone can be pleasant when life is smooth, but only a person of depth stays principled when life demands courage. That is why adversity is not something to fear. It is something to acknowledge as the ultimate proving ground of your values and character. 4. Values build reputation. Reputation is not something you declare. It is something you demonstrate day after day through the values you embody. Anyone can talk about integrity, discipline, loyalty, or honesty, but only a small percentage of people consistently live these qualities in moments when they are inconvenient, difficult, or when no one is watching. Your reputation is built in silence long before it is seen in public. It forms in the choices you make when shortcuts are tempting, when pressure is high, and when compromise appears easier than staying true to who you claim to be. The world remembers who you are through how you behave, not through the speeches you give or the promises you make. True reputation is the shadow cast by your character. Values become the blueprint that guides your decisions, shapes your relationships, and defines how others perceive you. Trust is not created by grand declarations or impressive performances. It is built through simple, consistent behaviors that demonstrate reliability. When people see that your actions match your words, that you follow through even when there is no reward, they begin to place confidence in your character. This confidence is powerful. It becomes the invisible currency that opens doors, creates alliances, and earns you loyalty that cannot be bought. People gravitate toward those whose values make them predictable in the best way, steady, sincere, and dependable. In life and in business, opportunities rarely go to the most talented person. They go to the most trusted. Talent can attract attention, but values retain relationships. Skills may get you through the door, but character determines whether you stay in the room. When others see that your principles are not negotiable, that you are anchored even in chaos, they begin to rely on you, not just for tasks, but for judgment, guidance, and leadership. A reputation built on solid values becomes a protective shield, a magnet for opportunity, and a foundation for long-term growth. People feel safer when dealing with someone whose values are clear and consistent. The strength of your reputation is directly tied to the clarity of your values. If you do not define what you stand for, the world will define you by your inconsistencies. But when your values are strong, they act as a compass that keeps your behavior aligned even in storms. They help you make decisions faster because you already know the type of person you refuse to be. They help you avoid environments and partnerships that conflict with your principles. They push you to show up fully, speak truthfully, and act responsibly. Over time, these repeated choices accumulate into something powerful. Your name, and your name becomes a promise. When people know that your word is solid, your intentions are genuine, and your actions are steady, they begin to trust not just what you do, but who you are. That is the moment reputation becomes a force. It becomes something that opens conversations before you arrive, something that earns you respect before you speak, something that creates opportunities that talent alone could never unlock. A strong reputation is not luck or marketing. It is the reflection of a life built on unwavering values. And in a world overflowing with noise and pretense, the person who consistently lives their values stands out. They become someone others rely on, support, and follow. 5. Living your values consistently. Living your values is a daily commitment, not a selective performance. It means showing up as the same person in private that you present in public. Many people believe in good principles, but only a few are disciplined enough to live them consistently. Integrity is not about perfection. It is about alignment between your beliefs and your behavior. When your actions regularly contradict what you claim to stand for, you create inner conflict, uncertainty, and a life built on fragile foundations. But when your choices consistently reflect your deepest values, whether that value is discipline, compassion, justice, loyalty, or truth, you build a sense of inner strength that cannot be manipulated or shaken. Consistency is the engine of integrity. Anyone can act according to their values when life is smooth or when others are watching. The real test is how you behave when you are tired, stressed, tempted, or pressured. Do you still keep your promises? Do you still treat people fairly? Do you still choose the harder right over the easier wrong? Every time you act according to your values in difficult moments, you strengthen your character. And every time you betray your values to chase approval, convenience, or short-term pleasure, you weaken your sense of self. Living your values consistently is how you become someone you can trust, before expecting anyone else to trust you. When your values become your lifestyle, confidence stops being something you manufacture. It becomes something you naturally embody. There is a calm that comes from knowing you do not have to pretend, impress, or hide. You become someone whose words carry weight because your actions support them. You no longer depend on validation to feel grounded because your sense of identity is stable. This kind of alignment creates inner peace. It eliminates the anxiety that comes from living a double life or trying to maintain an image disconnected from your real habits. When values guide your behavior, life becomes simpler, clearer, and more purposeful. Living your values consistently also shapes how others respond to you. People admire individuals who remain grounded, honest, and disciplined regardless of circumstance. They are rare. When you embody your values, you inspire trust, respect, and admiration, not because you seek these things, but because they are natural byproducts of character. In leadership, relationships, and personal growth, consistency is the greatest form of influence. Others watch not what you say, but how you act. They mirror the strength they see. By living your values, you give people permission to elevate their own. Ultimately, living your values is an act of self-respect. It is a declaration that who you are matters more than what you gain. It is a commitment to authenticity, even when it costs you comfort, time, or opportunities that would require you to abandon your principles. When you choose alignment over convenience, you build a sense of dignity that no loss can diminish and no victory can corrupt. And over time, this consistency transforms you into someone others admire, follow, and respect, not because you asked for it, but because you earned it through the quiet, disciplined work of living your truth every day. A values-driven life creates unlimited respect, trust, and long-term success. Build your values, live them boldly, and watch your world transform.